Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today, my special guest is just getting off an aeroplane to grab his luggage from the carousel and check out with us. It's Mike Haggith, and this is a track from his album called All the Best. It's huge.
I took a ride on a one-way track this time. I told myself there's no turning back. It's fine. You hold the line, I will be there at your beck and call. Those other girls, they just hell on wheels. Sometimes I sit and wonder if you know how it feels. For something real, all you get are empty threats and stars.
Welcome to the show. My name is Jade. This is How to App on iOS, and I hope you're all doing well. That was our guest today, Mike Haggith, and a track called All the Best. You're doing well out there. Everybody feeling good. It is Friday morning here in Australia, Thursday for the rest of you. And I'm pumped to have this dude on because he's been on my radar for a very, very long time. He's been making a lot of good music, playing live, doing the real musician thing, yeah? Doing the real musician thing. And somehow he fits it all in, right? Playing gigs, doing the musician thing, having a record label, and flying an aeroplane. And I know the question you all want to ask is those questions that were asked in Flying High in the Cockpit. We're going to do those today because I'm an idiot. And we will do that, of course. But welcome to the show. Let's get into it. Let's bring him on. Let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this interview for the first time here on this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce him. Oh, yeah, boo, he is here right now. It is the one, the only. It is Mike Haggith. Let's bring him on. How do you do?
Hey, how are you?
I am
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been a long time overdue, so thank you. And it's been real nice to meet you just before the show. As you said,
Yeah, likewise.
feels like we've been on opposing tracks, and here we are. The stars align, and it's all rocking and rolling.
We got it. We finally got it.
Got it. And thanks everybody here
Yeah.
who's in the chat. We'll call out your names at the usual point, which we do every time during this show in about 20 minutes' time. Let's get straight to it. I need to know this, Mike, before anything else. What does music mean to you?
Music is literally everything. I was a kid who just like was writing music when he was like 3 years old. I grew up not really always the best at like talking about the way I felt and the things I was going through, and writing music about it and playing that was always like really, really therapeutic, super cathartic. It really just, it's kind of the way I guess I communicate with the world.
And
I'm proud of that.
you literally are a kid was a kid that was making music before, like, picking your nose and all that stuff. You were right in the hot seat. Do you remember the first song that you ever wrote as a kid?
Yeah. So actually the first song I ever wrote was called I Love You Anyways. I was, I think 6 years old. And it's a pretty good song.
Wow.
If you look on my YouTube channel, actually, you'll find a recording of it from 09 and another one from 11. So I recorded it finally when I was 17 and then again when I was 19. It's pretty banging tune, actually. I was finally able to record it. But I had to keep it in my head for like 12 years.
How did you know what love was back then?
Oh, wow. I don't know.
It's
I listened to enough music. I was like, I don't really understand this, but I'm still going to sing about it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like I see a lot of young kids these days, in their teens, and they're writing all these complex songs about heartbreak and stuff, and it's like, wow. I was still trying to work out how to piss in the toilet, like how to get my life together. I had no idea about love, especially how to handle breakups.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Like we kind of go through it, right? Like I was like in my mid-20s and didn't know how to handle breakups. That's why I wrote songs about them. I'm basically just the Taylor Swift of mediocre white men, I guess.
Now remember that there's some advertising.
That's a
for you.
tagline. I'm gonna throw that on a T-shirt. I think actually that's
Absolutely.
pretty solid.
They would sell at a gig so bananas, I reckon. There's plenty of white men out there who feel very disgruntled at the moment. And hey, what about me? You got to laugh at that stuff at the end of the day. So music's always been in your blood. Was it a family thing? Like when you grew up in your household, what did your parents play? What was the stuff you would hear on the record player or the CD player? I'm guessing CD player.
Yeah.
Cassette.
Yeah, my dad was, nice cassette. Love it. Reel to reel, actually. I'm actually 73 years old. And the gramophone.
You don't look a day over.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't look a day over 69 because that's a nice age. My dad was huge into classic rock. He still is. Because like that's kind of the stuff that was really hot when he was growing up, right? So, I got my fair share of everything from like Zeppelin to U2. I have a huge affinity for 80s stuff, even like Tears for Fears. It's one of my favorite groups.
Great band.
And then oh my God, we got to see them live last year, my wife and I. Phenomenal show. They're in their 70s and they sound incredible.
The one band that have aged like physically, but they don't sound like they've aged at all. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I might have cried when they played Everybody Wants to Rule the World. That is my
Oh,
favorite song of all time.
I would
So
have
I
I
have a
would have
little
cried with
fangirl
you.
moment.
Yeah, I would have cried with you. I
Yes.
would have had to hold your hand and cry with you.
We will go to the next show together. Uh, yeah. So then my mom on the other side of things was big into uh, adult contemporary and like female singer songwriters. So I mean, this was the early to mid '90s. So like Melissa Etheridge, Amanda Marshall, and then other guys like Joshua Caddison. I don't know if you have ever heard of Joshua
I've heard of
Caddison.
Joshua Caddison. Yeah.
Yes. Paint the
Jesse,
Desert Serenade
paint
is
a
a beautiful
picture
album.
about the day. Is that the Jesse? Is that the
Yeah.
song?
Yeah, yeah, of where you want
One
to
of my
be, something like that.
ex-girlfriends liked him,
Oh
and I
my
used to be
God,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, bitch, turn it off." I'm a metalhead. You
Oh,
can't do that to me.
I know. So it's funny because my mom also like really loved Meatloaf, Elton John, and Billy Joel. So then when she would put the Joshua Caddison CD in, I would be like, "Oh, mom, not the boring piano guy." And then after like 10, 15 years, I found the Joshua Caddison album in a thrift shop and listened to it, and I was like, "Oh my God, I love every minute of this." He's so good. Oh my God.
But it's like that with music that you
Yeah.
grow up with and have playing around you, even though you don't personally go and
Yeah.
get that. It gets ingrained in you. It's like I grew up in a household with two sisters who watch Grease 1 and 2 religiously every
Oh
day, and the
yeah.
film Charlotte's Web. I can do every line from all three of those films backwards in my sleep, gargling water.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
gets imprinted.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, it does. And it really influences you. So like now what I do is I make a lot of like kind of modern pop rock with a retro flair, and I try to work in pianos. So I kind of just I think became a melting pot of all of those things that I used to listen to as a kid.
Have your parents become fans of your music as you're growing up? Can they hear those influences in your music? Do they get excited about your releases? Because you seem like you would make music that your parents see. My parents hated my music. I reckon your parents would like your music.
Yeah, they do. They've never had to buy an album for themselves
Of
because every
course.
Christmas or whatever, I always give them one because it's an easy gift. Clean out the back
Wow.
catalog. I got like 74,000 CDs back behind this green screen, so it's nice and easy. It's yeah, just stacked floor to ceiling with unsold CDs that I will take to my grave. Yeah, they actually really enjoy it. I remember way back about 10 years ago. So I was like, what, 22 maybe. And I recorded this album called A Place of Our Own, and just 6 songs, 36 minutes. And my dad kept that CD in the CD player of his van for God, I want to say like 4 months straight, just listening to the same 36 minutes of that album over and over and over again. And then every now and then I would hear him like whistling a synth line or something from it as he was like walking around. I'd be like, oh shit, that is so cool.
That is
Yeah,
cool. That is very cool.
yeah.
I remember my old man telling me every time I released an album, he'd go, "When are you going to start making some music?" And I'll never forget. I was doing a gig, Mike, and we were headlining. It was at the Sydney Mardi Gras, and we were going. I was just about 20 minutes before going on stage. There's 70,000 people at this gig, and I rang my dad to go, "Hey, dude, just let you know, I'm just about to go on stage in front of 70,000 people." And his words were, "You're never going to make it doing music." I was like, "You know what? I'm a bit tired of trying to please you." Anyway, I've got
Yeah,
people to
yeah.
go and please. Goodbye. So
Oh my
I
God.
envy that. There's a lot of people out there whose parents don't support them and do that kind of stuff. So that's a very, very lucky thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super fortunate for a number of years. And my parents split when I was 10 or 11, somewhere in there. And I used to go to my dad and stepmom's house every other weekend. And basically I had a tape deck set up in the basement in this one corner with 2 microphones, and they were suspended from the ceiling rafters. And I had drilled hooks in at all different parts of the ceiling so that I could hang the different mics in different spots for whatever sound. And I could like, kind of loop them all through so that the mic was at the right height and stuff. Cause you had to like level everything on the fly. And I used to just like record another tape every other weekend for quite a while. So they had to hear a lot more of me when I was young and fumbling around and didn't know what I was doing yet than anybody really should have. But they stuck through it, the troopers they are, and now I like to think of myself as moderately good. So yeah.
I talking about tapes. I think anyone who's a little bit older than 30, at least, has had an experience with cassettes. And I know for me, when I was young, we had vinyl in my life and cassettes. Cassettes were a big part of my life because it was one of the first things. Not only reel to reel, we had reel to reel in my house as well, but a cassette player too. You could just like hook up a mic to it. You could just record onto it and just record music from the radio. Cassettes were a really big part in, I know, my beginning of making music, and many other people just for mixtapes and even computer games. You used to be able to buy a Commodore 64 game and get 2 tape recorders and tape one to the other, and that's how you could pirate games. Like cassettes was such a big thing. I feel sometimes that kids are missing out on technology like that. It seems outdated, but it just had a lot of really good uses. What are your thoughts on cassettes?
Yeah, I personally kind of hated cassettes. I thought they sounded like crap. You could never really find the
True.
song you wanted, and you had to get really good at having a number 2 pencil lying around. And I got really good because I had a crappy cassette player that liked to get hungry quite a bit. So I got pretty good. I could like stick a cassette on a pencil and just do this. And just kind of like spin the pencil around and rewind it all. Yeah, yeah. Or like if I had to rewind a tape really quick, this was faster sometimes than hitting the rewind button.
Yeah.
I didn't like tapes, but there is kind of a weird nostalgia about it. And I think it has to do a lot with like the vinyl resurgence too that we're seeing is especially in this day and age where we're socially distanced and we're chronically online and always just passively consuming all of our media. And if you want to watch a movie, let's say you have to like you fire up Netflix and ask it to borrow it for 2 hours rather than putting in a DVD or a tape. Like people I think are starting to realize that there's a really nice component to like sort of interacting with the media that you're consuming, right? So the act of like laying a record down on the turntable and sinking that needle on in just the right spot and watching it go around and around and around. Yeah, like to me, I think that is so important. And I think we're like, as a society, we're kind of getting back to those roots. I'm still scratching my head about the cassette resurgence though, because of all the different ways you can interact with media, cassettes are the absolute worst. Gortium in the chat, one of the first times I met Haggith, he shared his dislike of cassettes. You're damn right. And I stand by it. I stand by it. Case closed. I'm throwing the pen down. Done.
I agree with it. I agree with it for listening, right? But I do still have a lot of cassettes for 4 tracks and stuff downstairs. I did love them just for the immediacy of recording stuff and getting an understanding of microphones. That's the only reason. The rest, because vinyl is resurging, and I think you're right. I think you're onto something there. I think the convenience of having media at our fingertips has been fantastic for a lot of people, but we are starting to see this group mind shift to, hang on a minute, I don't fucking own this. And I want to start owning things. I think people are starting to really scratch their head over this ownership thing and the way that stuff can be taken away so easy. I remember like all of Slayer's albums were on Apple Music. They had a falling out with the label, and then all of a sudden half their albums were gone off Apple Music. And it's like, what? And then I had to wait 1.5 years for them to re-sign with somebody to get this stuff back out there. That sucks. And that is a big representation. And vinyl, I don't know, it's pretty incredible still. Like I spent my time buying albums, cleaning my nan's toilet every week so I could earn some money to build my massive record collection. And, back in the day, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, you would just go and buy albums on the look of the cover.
Yeah, sometimes you would.
And a lot of the time you'd get home and they might be utter shit. But it was the hunt. It was the excitement of this looks good. Ah, it's a failure. We'll wait till the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. I'll never forget, like, just I think there's something to be said for the album experience too. That's so, so important. Like, you know, damn kids these days, they'll never know the disappointment of hearing just an incredible song on the radio and going out and buying the album to hear all the other cuts that are just as good and realizing it's one good song and the rest is utter crap. A good example of this is Urban Hymns by The Verve. I love Bittersweet Symphony, and then I went out and I listened to the whole album, and it was 6 incredible minutes of Bittersweet Symphony and then 10 songs of 60 minutes of utter snooze after. And it was so sad. That's an hour of my life I'm still salty about, but
Wow.
it's about discipline. It's about discipline, kids. And back in my day, that's how we got it.
Yeah. I still write albums. I find it hard to write
Oh
a
yeah.
song, you write a song and I still feel cold if I just release a song. It's like, ooh, really, that's it? That's all I'm giving somebody? There really should be a story. There should be love. I mean, the whole process of putting together song titles, I sit there and sweat over like the song order for months,
Yeah.
months on end, because it is important.
It is, and like sequencing is so underrated, and I'm glad that you spend a lot of time thinking about that because a lot of people don't. Us like album oriented creators are sadly a bit of a dying breed. I hope that changes.
Oops. I do have hope.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
so talking about albums and whatever format this is. Do you remember the first album that was given to you as a gift, and the first one that you purchased with little Mike Haggith's pocket money, burning a hole in the pocket?
Yeah, the first album I think that was ever given to me was a Christmas gift from my dad. I think it was maybe about 10, and it was U2, the Joshua Tree. And I absolutely fell in love with every minute of that. I think another one very, very early on was Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. My dad and I, we were walking through a Blockbuster. Remember those? And
Yeah.
they had a CD rack, like an impulse rack, and Rumors. There was a Rumors CD there for $5, and he was like, "Oh my God, like it's Rumors," and I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Fleetwood Mac." And I was like, I'm sure I know a lot of the songs, but I'm not recognizing the name. And so he bought that for me, and it was incredible. And I
Two
mean,
killer
every
albums,
song.
man. Two killer albums.
Oh God, right?
Yeah.
And then the first one I ever bought with my own money, I still remember it was like September or October, I think, of 2003. And I thought I was so freaking cool in October 2003 for discovering this band that nobody had ever heard of called Linkin Park. You got to remember, I was like 11 or 12 years
I
old. I
do.
thought I was a freaking genius. The first album I ever bought with my own money was Meteora. And that is an album to this day. If you put it on, I still know every single word. I listened to that album so much, I'm surprised it's still in one piece.
I love it. That was the other thing about vinyl too, right?
Oh
You would
yeah.
you would have your albums like I start out with crates and then I end up getting these long boxes which I used to put everything in, and you could always
Yeah.
tell the albums that you loved because the covers had dog ears on them, and
Oh yeah.
you had an idea of what was cool. Now these days, oh man, I get so lost when I open Apple Music and just start scrolling, going, there's so much in here, I can't make a decision. Like, and there's nothing that screams out. Remember this one? This is a favorite. Like, even though you can you can do the favorites and all that tagging, but it seemed to
Yeah.
me, I would rather just look at the little dog ears as I went through my albums. I miss albums so much. I do miss albums so much, but there is a resurgence. I'm a part of a bunch of vinyl groups here on YouTube, and I watch live streams every night. Every night there's a live stream I watch for the vinyl community here on YouTube. And they get like 400 people in their live chats every fucking night just talking about Beatles albums and reissues.
Oh, I bet.
It-
Yeah.
it's so huge. It really is huge.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's such a nostalgia factor to it as well, right? But I think it really all just comes back to something that is like really sort of transcending every generation, and that's, in the digital world, people are craving a more um, real feeling interaction, I think, with their music and the art that they consume. So you're seeing more people go to art galleries if they want to experience visual art, and you're seeing more people go out to watch plays if they want to see performance art, and you're seeing more and more people buying CDs and LPs, maybe not for the music, but even just as a merchandise item. It's something you can hold in your hands and something you can display really proudly if it's attached to a memory that means so much to you, right?
Yeah, totally. I love the resurgence. And yeah, and we're going to get to this as well because you are a part of that with vinyl and stuff like that. But we'll get to that. Let's play another
Yeah.
track, and then we'll come back and say hello to all the kind people who are here in the chat. We're going to play to start off something real because that's what we're doing right now. We're starting off this very real interview. So let's bang this track out. We'll come back in a moment. Let me cue it up, get everything all lined up. So 1 sec, we're good to go. All right, this is the start of something real. Let's ooge, baby.
I took a ride out to the dark side just to see where it
The start of something real. Rad song. Look, it's a really cool song. You know what? I hear a lot of 80s in this album.
Yeah.
Because I've seen you perform live, and when I see you perform live, I don't really get that. I kind of get this rock kind of thing, but this album in particular, it harkens back. It just feels like there's a lot of 80s influence in this one. Is that what you were going for with this album?
Big time, yeah. This song in particular, the instrumental to it kind of popped into my head. I was on a flight from Toronto to Calgary, and just as the plane was starting down, all of a sudden this popped into my head, and I had to hold on to it for like 2 hours till I could get to a hotel start tracking a demo, which is always the worst, right? That panic of like, oh my God, I think this is really good and I'm going to lose it. Because I can't tell you the number of incredible things that I've lost over the years. But this whole record, I really wanted to kind of tap into like the stadium rock, the more cheesy kind of pop stuff, really just infuse a lot of the synths. I really just wanted to work in every single element of all of my influences under one roof, I guess.
Let's hold that thought for a minute. Let's say hello to everybody who's here. Thank you all for joining us today. We've got Thomas Christ. Please type something in the chat so I don't have to scroll too hard and I can find you all and say hello. I like saying hello to you all because I like thanking you all for being here. We've got Thomas, we've got Tremor Bear, Joe Glenn, Ali, we got who else? Gortium, hello, Ed Zielinski, Kim Bo, the Bimbo is here, Kid Kane, hello, Barry Glenn. I saw Pete Johns right at the start, Chris Lane Sr., Cold Acre. I can't find Cold Acre's comment, but I know he's here. Who else is here? I know I saw Brad Example right up the top of the show, Russ 8889, Mr. Smith. I saw Valerie Butt up there as well. So thank you all for joining us. If I've missed anyone, just type and I'll say hello to you. I'll give you a shout out. Boom! I think I got most people, most of you. You know, well, I'll keep an eye out in the chat and see if I've missed anyone as we go on. So this is you just touched. We're going to talk about planes, all right? But just for a side note, you said you got an idea, you got to hold on to this idea. Hi, Leela. There's Leela from Lurky Lurkland. Leela from Rise of Dark Leela from Lurky Lurkland. So you get an idea in your head. You've got to hold on to this idea and then fly a goddamn plane.
Yeah.
How do you compartmentalize putting a song over here and then the complexity of flying a goddamn plane?
You gotta just find a way to put them into different places in your brain. It's like that episode of Seinfeld when Kramer's got all that lumber. He's like, it's all levels, Jerry. All right, sorry, I'm on this level right now, but that I got to put the song on that level. But then I gotta, so you gotta be really good at compartmentalizing. But realistically, man, flying an airplane is not that hard. Listen, you look out the window, you point and shoot. I want to go there, and I want to go there real fast or real slow, and that's literally all you got to do. Fast, slow, up, down, and just left and right are still left and right. So you're pretty well solid.
Yeah, you're telling somebody this who has trouble like putting my washing out on the clothesline and thinking about what I got to do next. Anyway,
that reminds me, my bathing suit is still molding in my bag from my last overnight. I forgot about it. See, so I forget that stuff too. So yeah.
Well, we'll talk more about planes, trains, and automobiles. No, we won't go that far. But so. As a kid, you're musically inclined. You're writing songs about love. You're only 6 years old. You don't even know what you're doing, but you're writing music and you're into it. Did you have at school where you are in Canada, did you have a music thing in whatever it is, primary school, high school? Did you have music classes? Did you have it like you were able to join a school band, a choir, anything like that where you had lessons and
Yeah, I took a few piano lessons when I was younger. So, my mom was a phenomenal piano player when I was growing up. My favorite piece she always used to play was Moonlight Sonata. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I was like, oh man, that would be really, really cool. Like if I could play piano like that. So when I was in the second grade, my parents put me in a private school. It's a Catholic school. I'm not super hot on that, but it was what it was. When you're 7 years old, it's just like, I don't know, this is where you're driving me and this is where my classes are, so I guess I'll go. But
That was so
yeah, you know
diplomatic.
what? Oh yeah, that private school too, they treated me like crap. They treated me like some sort of outsider. And so I didn't really like it. But one of the compulsory things you had to do when you were in this private school was you had to take uh, music lessons of your choice. So I took piano lessons for a couple of years until that school upset me enough, and one of the kids was messing with me, and I beat the crap out of him and got expelled. And went to public school after that. But um, and then the piano lessons stopped. It's weird. It's the two were intertwined. Um, but
I
that
didn't
was
see you as a
really about
violent.
it.
Hang on, you beat the crap out of somebody. You don't seem like the violent type, Mike.
Well, no, I try not to be, but sometimes you gotta punch a bully in the
You
mouth.
got to hulk up.
Yeah, and I don't have much, but I know how to use what I got. So that's all you need.
All right, you've been warned, everybody. Don't get on Mike's bad
Oh,
side. He'll do the Hulk Hogan Hulk
yeah.
up, Hulkamania Hulk
I'll
up, and
write I'll write you a strongly worded letter. That's the don't mess with the Canadian. Yeah.
you know what? I saw a TV show mocking Canada's police, and there was I forget, it was a pretty big, this one. It was a big hockey riot. I can't remember, late kind of 2010s,
Yeah.
maybe, I think.
Yeah. This is Vancouver
Yeah,
in I
yeah.
believe 2011. Yeah,
And I
yeah.
remember the footage they showed. The police, instead of coming out with riot gear, actually set up tables with an urn with hot coffee and sandwiches to try and calm down. And I thought, that is so cool. Like, can you just imagine these people? Oh, I was so angry. It's like, oh, egg salad
Yeah, yeah.
sandwich. Hang on a minute.
Oh, yeah. Hey. Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. They're out of chicken salad? That's it.
No, we riot again.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Oh,
I would
yeah, yeah.
love to come to Canada. When I lived in America, I was like, man, this place is so intense. And it's only, I was in Minneapolis, and I was like, it's only a stone throw away to normality, to somewhere like
Um,
Australia.
yeah, Canada has a rep of normality, I think, just because of our neighbor downstairs. But realistically, our country is kind of straying more toward the direction that America is too. It's not always
Yeah.
sunshine and roses, right? I don't know.
We're heading
I
to fascism as well.
Yeah. It just kind of seems to be a thing. Unless you're in France, the left wing in France just kicked ass. Yes. So it can be done.
Yes.
And I hope that we figure that out before it's too late, but I think we're screwed.
Optimism. Do you think it's safer to fly in an aeroplane than live in Canada right now?
Oh, I don't know. Both are still decently safe,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I might still take my chances in the plane.
It's an interesting thing. You hear that all the time. It's safer to fly in an aeroplane than to do most things.
Yeah.
Is this the truth? From being a pilot, is that the truth in your opinion?
Oh, it absolutely is. So it's funny actually. I was just flying the other day to Vancouver, and I was talking to the captain I was flying with. We were having a nice conversation about sort of what the golden age of flying was. And everybody always, when you say the golden age of flying, what do they think? They think of like 1965, Pan Am, TWA, all those old jets and that. But what they don't realize is those airplanes were all full of cigarette smoke and flying directly into mountains. So, um,
The
things
good old
things have
days.
gotten Right. Yeah, yeah. So we always look back at these horrible things with really rose-colored glasses. But at the end of the day, flying is so much safer now than it ever has been before. And even back when they were flying one in every 100,000 into a mountain, that's still a pretty good number because everybody knows somebody who's been involved in a car accident. Everybody knows somebody who's been hit by a vehicle or crashed their bike or whatever else. But very few people know anybody who has, like actually perished in a plane crash. Those sorts of things have just become significantly more rare.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, totally. So I'm curious about all of this because, I guess we don't get to see the ins and outs of how. So just to set things straight, are you a commercial airline pilot?
Yeah, yeah. I fly the Boeing 737 for a major
Whoa!
Canadian airline. Yeah.
That is so intense, my friend. All right, that is
So intense you forgot to bleep yourself.
well, sometimes you got to let out a good fuck, and
Boom, demonetized.
no, actually, no. Demonetization only happens with swearing in the first 15 seconds of the video. Then you can drop as many as you want, but just not in a really fast succession or over the top. Like the other day, I got demonetized for doing a joke on the channel of this album of this band called Goblin Cock. There they are.
Okay.
Right, and
Nice.
I was
Yeah.
trying to do
Well,
a
that
pun,
is-
right? Going, is
that-
anybody into
yeah.
Goblin Cock? Right. See, I thought it was really funny.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But apparently, YouTube decided that's not funny. You're actually being really disgusting. And I was like, hang on a minute, algorithm. But whatever, whatever. So see, you get demonetized for the dumbest stuff, but other stuff gets through. I don't get it.
No, it's true, and good for that goblin, really, because that is a good ratio of let's say meat to body. Um, good, good for you.
Let's give
Good for you, little guy. Yeah.
well done. Claps for Goblin Cock. Everybody in the chat, claps for
right.
Goblin Cock.
There we go.
So what is the process of becoming a commercial pilot? Like, obviously, like, where does it begin? Like, I just have no idea. I think about when I went to join American Express and they made me sit in like 3 months of training to learn how to use their system. And I was like, this seems very excessive just to use a fucking computer. What about, like, how many years does it take to do this?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a matter of years. It's more you've got to think about it in terms of hours, actually. And that's not to say, oh, 8 hours ago I didn't know how to fly a plane, and now I do. But it's more of a fact of you basically you start from zero. From there, you have to do a certain number of hours of what we call ground school. You learn about meteorology, navigation, human factors, airframes, engines, um, and I believe there are a couple more that I'm not recalling off the top of my head because this was many years ago when I did it. But so you do all your ground school, then you get a student pilot permit after you write an exam, and you have to get 90% on that, which isn't really difficult. You memorize a question bank of 200 and they give you 50 out of there, and you just go through and you fill them out. After that, you do your written private pilot exam, and then you do your private pilot flight test. And once you've passed that, you can do the same for your commercial pilot license. Then you have to get your multi-engine rating, so that you can't just fly single engine. Now you can fly
Wow.
airplanes with more than one engine. Then you get your instrument rating so that you can fly through clouds where you can't see outside, but you still know where to go and what to do. Then once you have all of that, you've got about 250 flight hours at this point, a commercial pilot license, multi-engine rating, instrument rating. The path that I took at that point was I moved up to northern Manitoba, a town called Thompson. It's 500 miles north of Winnipeg. And the reason I went there is because there was a small regional airline that specialized in basically taking in lower time pilots like myself and putting us on the flight decks of commuter airplanes, two engine turbine airplanes. And basically, I flew for them for a little over 4 years, mostly as a first officer or a co-pilot. And then the last year and a bit that I was there, it was as a captain, which is in the captain's seat of this small commuter airplane, 19 seats, two propellers. So it was cool. I was doing a lot of gravel operations. So basically, you would fly into these little remote reserves. You've got a 3,500-foot gravel runway that's probably covered in ice and a 30-knot crosswind, and you've got this this turboprop airplane coming in at 120 knots, so 230 kilometers an hour maybe, and you've got to land it on that and stop in time and all that good stuff. It is super, super fun. Really cool stuff.
Sounds like a walk in the park.
It's not nearly as difficult as it sounds once you get the hang of it. Until then, it's terrifying. So after you have 1,500 hours and you've got so many pilot and command hours and so many night hours and all these things, then you go down to Transport Canada's office and you write 2 separate exams. And when you pass both of those, you are given an airline transport pilot license. And that is realistically what you need to fly and become a captain on basically a major jet, anything up to like an A380 or a 747. So with 2,000 hours and an airline transport pilot license, I was able to take that to a major Canadian airline, and they put me on the 737. And I've been there for almost 2 years now. So yeah,
Wow.
It's super cool.
Yeah, there's
a lot.
I find it incredibly interesting. Obviously, I don't know shit. You see Hollywood, you see stuff. But like when I've been on a lot of planes. Like I've traveled around the world a lot, so I've seen the inside of a lot of planes. I've never seen the inside of a captain's cockpit. God. Anyway,
there you go.
But
demonetized.
But there's been so many times I've been sitting on a plane looking out the window, and we're going through heavy clouds and stuff like that, and just thinking, what did they have in there? Like, is it just the instrumentation? Or is it these days? Is it like a GPS in a car? Like, how do you get through fucking clouds in a storm? It just boggles my mind.
We have instruments, we have gyroscopes and all these things. You have basically what's called an artificial horizon. So it basically gives you like just a rudimentary visualization of if the airplane's straight and level, if it's in a turn, if it's pitching up or down. You have your altitude, your speed information. You have GPS for navigation. You also have a weather radar that you can pull up. So, I mean, we have all of these tools at our disposal. So honestly, it's really, really nicely laid out too. It's a lot of information. You can kind of pick and choose what you need as you need it. And it just makes the whole operation super robust. So it's very, very safe for that reason.
So this is now we're going into I'm not going into the toilet, but like there's always this like air about pilots and stuff that, hey ladies, that the ladies are like now I know you're married and stuff like that. So I don't know,
Yeah.
But is it like that? Is it kind of like being a rock star for, I guess other pilots and stuff. Are there pilots out there who are like, hey ladies, and they just like land and just bang? Or is it not?
There are always people like that. I mean, stereotypes often at least come from some sort of observation at some point, right? So there are certainly people like that. It's largely kind of blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
But not 100% blown out of proportion. It's funny though, it was when I was living in northern Manitoba, flying for that commuter airline. I found myself single at some point, and I hopped on Tinder with my pilot uniform, like, "Ooh, I'm a pilot." Everybody's a frickin' pilot up there, because it's the North. That's the only way you can get anywhere. So, like Tinder up there was basically just flooded with, a bunch of local girls, like from the towns and stuff like that, and then a bunch of generic white man pilots who are all like, "Oh, look at me, I'm a pilot," and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, okay, swipe left." Yeah, like the last 14 pilots I saw. So it's not a big deal up there, but like it really depends on where you are and when.
It's funny, when I think about planes, I grew up with Flying High, or in America known as Aeroplane, the comedy from, what was it, the
Yes.
early 80s. It is still just,
1980, yeah.
I only watched it like about 2 months ago, and Laurie's straight away in the chat. Joey, you ever seen a grown man naked? You ever been to a Turkish prison? Do you get people who want to come into the cockpit? Do they still do that kind of thing where a kid gets to come up to the cockpit and see what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, the only stipulation with that is, from the time we close the boarding door to the time it opens at the destination, the flight is considered secure.
Right.
And for that point in time, nobody accesses the flight deck besides pilots or a flight attendant if they have a reason to. But once we're at the gate, and everything is shut down, yeah, it's open season. So like whenever like we see kids coming up and down the aisle, if they seem even remotely interested, we'll always offer like, "Hey, do you want to come up, see the flight deck, you sit down?" Their parents are like, "Oh, can we get a picture?" Yeah, of course. Because like my whole thing was I grew up in the 90s. I was flying a lot before 9/11. Right? Like I remember that world.
Yeah.
Flying through the US in the 90s. I was a kid, and like in the middle of the flight, a flight attendant would come up to me like, "Hey, do you want to go up and see the pilots?" and stuff like that. So I got like really exposed to aviation at a young age, right? Like you didn't even need a ticket to go to the airport before 9/11. Like you could just go to the airport, and it didn't matter if you were just a regular civilian. If you went through the metal detector and you didn't have a bomb on you, you could go. You could just go look at the airplanes and sit in the terminals and stuff. Like you could just do that.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's so much more closed off, right? So it's so hard to kind of give people at a young and formidable age sort of that same sort of early exposure to aviation and just kind of the beauty of it all. So it's really cool, like when kids are flying or something and they go, "Oh, that's the pilot," and it's like, "Yeah, well, come on up and see the office." Like it's super cool. We always try to make time for that.
I think that's awesome. That really is awesome. And, even as you said, I forget. It's not that I forget, but yeah, everything changed with 9/11,
Yeah.
I remember traveling a lot before 9/11, and it was exactly that. You'd go through and
Yeah.
anywhere and smoke wherever you were. Times were so
Yeah.
different. And I went to America, traveled, from Australia to America twice in 2016 and 17. And holy shit, the amount of security in America was just so overwhelming. And I felt like I was a suspect the whole time I was there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah. You're like, I've packed everything. I've got all my stuff figured out. It's all secure. And then the second you walk into the metal detector, you're like, "What if I accidentally have a bomb?" It's like,
but that is the thing. Like ever since 9/11, and I have flown around since then, you get so nervous, even though you've got nothing to be nervous about, and you're not guilty of anything. You're carrying nothing. But every time I go through security, wherever it is now, I'm just like, shit, I'm so worried. And I'm like, I hope I don't look
Yeah.
like I'm worried, because I am, but I shouldn't be. Why the fuck am I worried? It really
Yeah.
has changed the way our minds work around flights, which sucks, because flying should be just the most wildest thing. As soon as you get on the plane, though, I don't know how you feel about this. I'm intrigued, because you do it for a living. No matter how many times I fly, I sit down, and as soon as it starts moving and takes off, every time I'm just filled with, wow, this really is like incredible. I can't believe we can do this. I'm fucking
Oh yeah,
flying.
yeah.
It like, does it still resonate with you doing it every day?
Absolutely. And it's something I live for. It's so funny though, because like I know most people don't feel the same way I do about flying, right? Like leave it to human beings to take something as magical as flying through a pressurized tin can at 600 miles an hour, um, and make it suck. Like, you know what I mean? Like like when people like I'm sure when the majority of you guys are sitting in the chat right now and I talk about flying, you're like, "Oh
Uh,
yeah, friggin' awful leg room and stale friggin', peanuts or whatever." And it's like, man, like that right there is a testament to how safe aviation is. Like if you're ever worried about how safe aviation is, what's the first thing you think of when you think of an airplane? It's not crashing, it's
no.
not dying, it's, oh my God, the legroom is horrible and I hate Spirit Airlines. It's like, well, if that's your biggest problem, like then you're doing great, champ.
Yeah, it's I don't know. The only thing I do get concerned about, I don't give a shit about legroom. I'm still
Yeah.
so amazed. I don't give a fuck if the food's. I don't really care. Normally, I'll try and fly with a good airline here in Australia. I'll normally go with Singapore or Thai because they have really nice airlines out this arse end of the
I
world
was
underneath.
I was gonna say, yeah, you have no business getting on a Jetstar flight, but
No, no
yeah.
way, no way. But the one thing I do always get concerned about is, like you say, it is a sardine can full of like. Since COVID, I think now this is more that you are just breathing in everyone's shit, and that's what I always get worried about. How am I going to feel afterwards? What am I touching on a fucking plane? And try to limit my time going to the toilet as little as
Yeah.
possible. Because the one thing that pisses me off, as soon as this is what pisses me off about passengers. As soon as the flight takes off, there's always this group of people who are just like, I'm so desperate to stand up. And the seatbelt comes up and they're up and they're like, it's like, relax, dude. You got 18 hours till we
Yeah.
get to America. Why are you standing up now? It baffles me,
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah,
Brad
yeah.
says, I hate
It's
people who take off their shoes. So
oh
gross.
God, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was like sometimes like I'll like when I'm flying, especially like after I went back to work after I got hurt last year. I would get up every hour or two and go stretch my legs in the forward kind of galley there. Because my knee would get really tight if I was sitting for too long. And there was this one time this girl, she must have been like, I don't know, maybe 20 or something. She was in first class and she gets up and she goes to the bathroom and I look down and she's barefoot. And I stopped her and I was like, hey, like, I don't want to tell you how to live, but but quick thought exercise for you. Would you walk barefoot into a porta john? And she was like, ew, that's gross. I was like, okay, this porta john's going 600 miles an hour, and the only thing holding you and that crap away from each other is a little vacuum seal that big. So you should probably get your shoes. And she
Yeah.
was like, okay. She was a little freaked out after that. Like, come on. Yeah, I don't know. We kind of just I think it's just such an overwhelming experience for some people that we kind of lose perspective, right? Like it happens in a lot of things in life where you kind of get fixated on one element of whatever you're doing, and then your brain just kind of turns into mashed potatoes about everything else, right? But like,
Yeah.
we kind of lose some element of critical thinking, and I don't know, it's just human, but it's good to kind of stop people sometimes and be like, hey, do you mind if we think this through for a second? And
Yeah, it's a bit
yeah.
hard these days. The last thing I'll ask about it before I know we've taken up a bit of time, but it just does fascinate me. So,
Yeah.
is there a standout moment in your flying career where there's been a scare and you've literally been afraid of something's gone wrong and you're like, shit, what am I going to do? And how did you deal with it? Or have you just been lucky not for that to happen?
Okay. So the date was August 5th,
Wow, you got a
2017.
date. Fuck.
Oh yeah. I was I was doing one of my last training flights with the college before I had everything I needed to go off to the north. And so I showed up to the airport one day and went to go sign out this airplane, and the book was gone. And so I went to my operations manager and I was like, hey, like I, I'm going to take this airplane out if it's airworthy. And the ops manager was like, yes, it's technically legally it's airworthy, but it had a trim runaway last night on the cruise. So a trim runaway is basically here. I'll get you an airplane. So a trim runaway. So you've got an elevator on the back right there that goes up and down. So a trim is basically a system that uh, basically takes the weight out of the controls so that, you can just like pitch it a certain way, take your hands off, and it's going to just keep flying that way because it's trimmed.
Yeah.
And so you can change it. It's just a little motor actuated thing. A trim runaway is when that motor starts actuating on its own without pilot input. It's a mechanical fault that changes the direction of the stabilizer and can throw the nose of the airplane up or down quite severely. And if you're not on your game, it can be unrecoverable. Um, so this had happened. So I talked to maintenance and they said, well, as long as you kill both sources of power to the autopilot, that won't happen. I said, great. I'm flying without an autopilot anyway. My instructor was okay with it. I convinced the ops manager. We got the book. We're out the door. Get in the airplane. We pulled out the electric trim circuit breaker and we did a test. Or sorry, we left the electric trim circuit breaker in, but we pulled the autopilot circuit breaker and hit the autopilot off button. Basically, did a test on the ground. The electric was working fine on its own. The autopilot had no power, so in our minds, it couldn't possibly do this to us. So we took off. Um, and we took off out of Sault Ste. Marie. We were going up to 5,000 feet. And just as I was getting ready to level off at 5,000 feet, I went to push the nose of the airplane forward, and the control yoke was frozen and it wouldn't budge. And I thought to myself, oh, this is kind of weird. Okay. Well, I must have over trimmed it. So I put some nose down input on the electric trim and nothing happened. I thought, well, this is really weird. So I told my instructor, I said, the electric trim is not serviceable. So he recycled the circuit breaker once. And in the meantime, we had a manual trim wheel right between our seats. So you just grab the wheel and you just move it forward and backward, and that moves the stabilizer. So that's kind of like, it's literally just a hard cable wired, like there's no possible way that can fail. And I grabbed the wheel and it was frozen and it wouldn't move.
Fuck.
And the airplane was stuck in a climb. And the problem is when an airplane climbs, it's about energy. You're always sacrificing one thing for another.
Yep.
So in order to gain altitude, which is what you're doing when you're in a climb, you're sacrificing speed. So the longer you climb, the less and less and less speed is available to the
Right.
airplane. And at some point, the plane flies too slow, not enough air goes over the wings, and this results in an aerodynamic stall. And the airplane falls out of the sky. And there is a way to recover from a stall, but it involves up and down pitch control, which we didn't have. So yeah, so it started right in the top of my head and just washed down. And then about a second later, a calm started right here and washed down. And it was like, yeah, it was just a matter of like, I looked at my buddy and he looked at me and it was just like, well, what do we do? And he goes, yeah, well, we're pretty fucked here, aren't we? And I was like, yeah, this is weird, man. And so the only thing I could think to do is I kind of looked over at the throttles for the engines, and I looked over at them, and he said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'd better take this one." And I said, "Yeah, better you than me, man." So he put his hand up on the throttles for the engines and reduced the power on both engines to idle. Um, so the idea here was this was our only play left. So basically, we knew that if we kept on climbing, eventually we were going to stall, and if we stall, we're dead because we cannot recover this airplane. So we have to do something. So by reducing power on the engines, one of two things is going to happen. Either the plane is going to stall and we're dead anyways. So whatever, it's a wash. But there's a chance that because now you don't have that thrust, the nose of the airplane might actually fall before the wings stall, and you might be able to get it out of this climb, even with the stabilizer jammed. So we pulled the powers and we waited. We watched the airspeed tick down, and I still remember the stall speed was 55 knots, and I'm watching this airspeed go back to 70, 65, 60, 57 knots, and the nose came down. We were two knots away, which is 4 kilometers an hour away from stalling that airplane and falling out of the air. The worst part of it was we were right over downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, where this was taking place. And we were like, well, we have to do something or else, like, it's not just us, but it's going to be people down there. So we had to do something. It was a risk we had to take. It was the only play we had. Luckily, once we were able to do that, we were able to limp the aircraft back in for a safe landing in Sault Ste. Marie, where I then learned the understanding of airplane systems differs from mechanics to pilots, and that what he wanted us to do, the mechanic, when he said kill both sources of power to the autopilot, was pull the autopilot and the electric trim circuit breakers. Apparently, the electrical configuration we had taken off with made sense to us, but as it turned out, we had not really understood that the autopilot was still going to get power through the electric trim circuit breaker. So it was just one of those things. I was pretty upset with myself for not knowing that, but really no pilot knew that. My instructor had 3 times the amount of experience as me, and it seemed like a solid plan to him too. Like, it was nobody's fault. It was just a gap in communication, and these little things can just really snowball quickly if you're not careful. But there was an investigation, there were all these things, and ultimately, like, we were all vindicated in our actions. And actually, the chief flight instructor of the flight school brought me in for a meeting about a week later, and I thought he was gonna potentially ream me out for not really having a full idea of this airplane system. But he was like, no, dude, he said, I didn't even know that that's how that system worked. He said, like, make no mistake about it. Like, what you guys did up there saved a lot of lives, not just your own. So he was really kind of proud of us. And it was a good learning moment for me too. But yeah, that was one of very few moments where I was like, this, this could be really, really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's much respect. And I'm sure everybody that's why I wanted to ask about it. We've taken a bit of time with it, but I just find it incredibly, huge thing. Simple yes and no answer. Yes or no. One word. There it is. Is the Earth flat?
No.
Thank God for that. Does that frustrate you, seeing that shit?
It's always so funny to me when flat earthers use global positioning system to get to the friggin' Walmart. Yeah, I don't give it any more than that.
All right, let's play a track, and it's quite fitting that we're playing this one. We'll just go into it. This is called Carousel.
Yeah.
Just make sure you get your bags from the carousel. Let's ja.
Once the wheels come off the ground, when you let down, oh, that won't change me. Now that won't change me. A sailing ship is run aground. Might you confound perhaps a strange me? Perhaps a strange me. Nothing on. Yeah, I get the feeling like I'm losing control. Through the dawn. Yeah, I get this feeling burning down in my soul. See you again. Don't wanna see you again. Watch the sky turn black to green. It set the scene in February.
Awesome track, man. Awesome track. We got you on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really great stuff. Let's talk more about music here. All right. So you've been doing this a long time, recording albums. Now, word has it, you've got a lot of recordings.
Yeah, I've got a few, couple dozen, yeah, at least.
So
Uh,
after you like start playing music, like what about bands? Like, have you been through a few bands? Can you go through like getting into your first band, playing your first kind of gigs, and have you like moved through different iterations of Mike Haggith through different bands over time? Give us a rundown of how that's kind of worked out for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I was in high school, so I mean, you're going back to like '06, '07 around there. I was kind of in two bands. The first was Scar, which was a short for Sick, Carnivorous, and Rebellious. And it was my buddy and I, and we basically did like improv metal type stuff. We would just like record tapes and that was kind of our thing. And then I was in another band called The Air. And that was more of like a 60s kind of almost hippie jam band type of thing, which was actually really, really cool. We had, so it was me on drums and vocals. We had a bass player who was pretty solid, and the guitar player, Dylan Panic, he sounded just like Hendrix or Clapton. I swear to God, this kid was like 15 and like a literal prodigy. This was all back in my hometown, just outside Windsor, Ontario. So I kind of stuck with those bands for a bit until I moved to Sault Ste. Marie. From there, I kind of, started to, I guess, define myself as a solo artist. I kind of steered more into like harder rock and then started incorporating elements of piano in that. And I joined a couple of guys who had been writing some grunge stuff, and I joined them as a drummer and a vocalist. Guys named Kurt McKenzie, Daniel Horton, and that band was called Haggith, actually. They named it after me because drummers don't get very much recognition, in their words. So we were active in Sault Ste. Marie 2012 to about 2015. And yeah, it was pretty cool. Like we self-recorded a few records. We did some pretty high-profile stuff around the city. And from there, we launched a spin-off group where we all kind of rotated instruments. And this was called Mike Haggith and the Din. And Mike Haggith and the Din basically had us all, like me, Kurt, and Dan in different positions. And basically what we did is we took like my solo music that I'd been releasing at the time, and we basically just turned it into acid jazz. Like we took this one song I'd release called Lim Coast that was 3.5 minutes long, and we recorded a 27-minute version of it. Um, so that was kind of a cool side project. And actually, I got really into that because it was really the first time where I was like the front man of a band, and I really kind of found a love for it. Um, which led to the next iteration of that group called the Din itself. So with that, we brought on Brandon Glue as the drummer. He replaced Dan Horton, and then Tammy Hill, who's hiding up there on the front right, she replaced Kurt McKenzie on guitar, and I played bass and sang. I was the front man, and we got pretty big actually in Sault Ste. Marie. This is 2015 to 2017. We kind of brought with us like a sort of 90s alternative sound, kind of right as that was really catching a wave of popularity. So that was really cool. We got to play a lot of pretty high profile stuff, and we had a blast. Released a few records along the way. We did a cover of the month series on there, or well, actually, we renamed it That Cover Series. Um, and I think the most popular one on there is Hey Jealousy, Gin Blossoms, and I think that one's over 20K now. So pretty cool stuff. And that album, yeah, technically live, that was recorded at the release concert for our first album, Give In to the Din. And that was recorded in a 400 seat auditorium, a sold out auditorium, I might add. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Um, After the Din, well, so the Din kind of ended when I moved away to Thompson, Manitoba. Um, I moved up there to go fly for this regional airline, but I had to start as a baggage handler. And I moved to this town so far away from everybody and everyone I'd ever known and loved and cared about. And that's where I wrote an album called Bridges, all about just the feeling of isolation and all of the themes that came along with that. And from there was kind of the rebirth of my solo career. It was through a couple songs I wrote on that record that I met some lovely folks in a band called Between the Ditches, which was a cover band that was going around Thompson. And usually I don't play in cover bands. I write enough of my own stuff. I express myself enough. I don't have to, play other people's material because I have ample material on my own. Um, but but Between the Ditches was just so fun and different because there were five of us and we were all multi-instrumentalists. So throughout a 45-minute set, we would all change instruments a few times. So like I would start on guitar and then I'd go to bass and then I'd finish the show on drums. Jen on the far left there, she would usually start on drums and then she'd go to piano and then she'd play fiddle for some things. Delcy in the middle, she's a phenomenal singer and a great guitarist. Justin Fucciarelli, second from the right, is an incredible guitarist in his own right, and then Josh Kane on the far right was probably one of the best bass players I've ever heard in my life. So we were kind of the original five for Between the Ditches, and then we had some lineup turnover as we sort of went along. But yeah, it was super cool to like do something different with each of those bands. And then now I've got my live band for my festivals and stuff that I play up in Sault Ste. Marie. So we jokingly behind the scenes started calling ourselves Magic Mike and the Big Finish because it just sounded super dirty and we're actually 10 years old. But now we are the Big Finish Band because we always like just try to go out with a bang. So yeah, the lineup this year is the five of us that you see right there. Matt Franzi on the far left, he's our bass player. Chris Nielsen beside him, he's he's a fantastic lead guitarist. He's always jumping around and upstaging me, stealing the show, and I freaking love him for it. That guy in the middle, he sucks. Don't worry about him. And then that's then that's Ellie McWaters next to me, and she has got a phenomenal voice, and she's very, very, very adept with the guitar as well. She's really, really good for rounding out the band. And then that's Brandon Glue on the far right, drummer, vocalist extraordinaire, former drummer from the Din as well. So he and I have kind of stuck together with projects for about 10 years now. He's one of my best buddies, and yeah, we're having so much fun getting ready for this show. It's honestly it's going to be an incredible show, and we're only 8 days away from Rotary Fest, so I'm really, really excited for that.
Super exciting stuff. Look, what a great history. You know, I was reading through your bio and just going, wow. I feel like I'm kind of reading my own bio with the amount of bands that you've been in and for how long you've been doing it. It's does it feel like, you know, does it feel like you've been doing this for a long time, or does it all feel like a blur? You know, because I know, you know, when you've been playing music for such a long time, you've been going through so many different bands and iterations and modes. You can forget so much of the great stuff, but it seems like you've got a lot of recordings and such. So, you know, do you remember a lot of this stuff, or is it all just a blur?
Yeah, I remember a lot of it. You know, back in the Haggith days, I mean, we were a kind of just a grunge band that would show up and just like tear the roof off the place. So I mean, I never really liked to play shows inebriated, but we drank a lot before a lot of our shows, and we had some great ones and some frickin' sloppy ones. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I remember most of the stuff. It's cool, like going back through a lot of the discography, and you know, or stumbling upon an old video from like 12 years ago and go, oh man, you know, that was a solid tune, or that was a crunchy jam, or man, I would love to pull this song out and do this at one of the shows. Like it's when you've got like such an extensive back catalog, like I've written like 500 songs, right? Um, like there's just so much that you can pull from. So it's super, super overwhelming sometimes condensing that down into a 10 song show for 45 minutes. But we do okay.
Now, yeah, I've seen a lot of your live performances because you record them and, you know, you put them on YouTube. Does it, after playing live song, is it still exciting? Like, you know, what do you still get butterflies before going? I mean, I love performing live. I love the whole feeling of butterflies. People say, you know, fucking, you get nervous. It's like, no, the nerves are part of it. Like, you know, some of the best performances I've ever had came from me being utterly so shaken up before going, this is going to be wild. It's the ones that I've gone into really relaxed that I end up way too relaxed on stage and the gigs suck. What's your method for preparing for a gig and bringing the vibe, you know?
Yeah, I feel that every single time when I'm about to go on stage, that nervousness, that sort of almost like panic response. I live for that because it always goes away at the exact same time, and it's usually right toward the end of the first chorus where you're kind of settling in. You've played the hooks, you've made your big entrance, everybody's there, and you're like, damn, you know, all right, we're good. This crowd is good, this vibe is good. And we know what we're doing, you know. Like my big thing is prior preparation prevents poor performance. It's a motto that I live with aviation and with music. And I live for that feeling of the butterflies and that, and just the nervousness. It really, I don't know, it makes you feel alive, right?
Yeah.
And then as we go through the sets and all the different songs from the different sort of eras of Mike, and like, you know, I write a lot of songs from like, you know, near death experiences like the one we talked about, or like heartbreaks, just these awful relationships that just gutted me, all of these things. And then in 45 minutes, I basically get to, in a way, sort of like guide the life flashing before my eyes, where I kind of get to revisit all of these things and conquer them again and again every single time. Every time every time I play, Missing, for example, I'm reconquering the relationship and all of the feelings that went into that song, right? And like all of the sad parts of it too, or like Hot and Cold, I feel like that guy again, sitting in his apartment, just absolutely devastated. Or like Carousel is a great example. I watched the wheels leave the ground when she left town. All of these things, I get to experience that all in real time, and then I have to fight through it because that's what we've that's what we've trained for. And then at the end of it, damn, I got to really feel that for those 3 minutes. I got to convey that, share like that interest or like that intimate moment with an audience. And then 3 minutes and I've conquered that again. And now I'm stronger when I think about that than I was the last time. So to me, like that means the world.
That is the best description I've heard of playing live. I was on the level with you there,
Yeah.
I used to play a lot of, festival gigs to thousands of people. But for me, nothing beats when my DreadCircus band, we moved to small jazz cabaret clubs, and we started doing gigs with sit-down dinners, and you had people eating, and you get to like really be in someone's face and in someone's life and actually leave a mark and actually feel the music. Because it's like you play on a stage big and you've got a big audience. It's really hard to connect with people. You're connecting because it's your song, But in those intimate things, oh my Lord. And people come up to you afterwards and would be like, I cried all the way through that song. You don't get that from big stadium things,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
We need to run an ad from I've kind of forgot about it because I've been so engrossed in this. So every day we run an ad here on the channel for YouTube and I don't know what that was, but anyway, we'll run the ad. So every day we run the ad here. So the ad's been run. If you want to skip the ad, just skip it. And that was crazy. Or become a YouTube Premium subscriber and you'll be able to avoid the ad. Tomorrow, I'll just let you know if people are getting served an ad. We can just quickly let people know what's coming up tomorrow on the show. We have an app I'm looking at which is called Gradient Synth. You can make music with colors. There you go. So check out that. And we've got the opening hour coming up this week as well. And don't forget, folks, this Sunday, US UK time here on this channel, the rant is a very special episode because I will be ranting about the direction of the channel. There's some big changes coming here on the channel. Things are going to get turned upside down, shaking completely upside down. So if you want to know what's going on with this channel, tune in for that. Let's play another track, and then we're going to talk about recording, record labels, all this kind of stuff to bring this home. Just let me bring up a track here. I've kind of lost my place with all this, bringing all these different things up on the screen. Where am I? We're going to play Twist of Fate. Let's bring this up and make sure I've got it all set. And let's hit play and rock and roll. We'll see you back here in a moment, folks. Let's rock and roll. This is Twist of Fate, Mike Haggith. Boom. Hang on. Oh, we're good. Sorry. We'll give that a go again. Sorry, I thought my interface screwed up. Let's oge.
It's been a cold December, the darkest lows and the deepest blues. No, I don't remember how far it goes or how much I lose. And I try hard to listen, but you make excuses and not to choose. and shake those hips. Press that bottle to your lips. Crack that smile and shake those hips. Press that bottle to your lips. Now have you seen my baby? She's riding high in a black balloon. She hasn't been here lately, but I hold out hope that she'll be here soon. But I don't want to keep up with a setting sun and a rising moon. Crack that smile and shake those hips. Press that bottle to your lips. Crack that smile and shake those hips. Press that bottle to your lips. You got that old town up in fits, 'cause your loose lips be sinking ships. I never thought it'd come to this. I'd be the one you can't resist. Oh yeah. When I'm good to go, you're as good as gone. When I'm good to go, you're as good as gone. When I'm good to go, you're as good as gone. When I'm good to go, you're as good as gone. When I'm good to go, you're as good as gone. When I'm good to go, you're as good as gone. When I'm good to go, you're as good as gone. Gone, gone. Crack that smile and shake those hips. Press that bottle to your lips. Crack that smile and shake those hips. Press that bottle to your lips. You got that old town up in fits, 'cause your loose lips be sinking ships. I never thought it'd come to this. I'd be the one you can't resist. Oh yeah.
Banging song, that one. And kicking a hole through the wall. Look, it's a really killer album, man. Really good stuff. Listened to it a whole bunch over the last week, even though I'd had it already and got all your stuff. But yeah, really varied stuff in there. Really good stuff. How did you record this? What was it on? What DAW did you use? What gear did you use? Did you have the band members in? Was it all done by yourself? Shoot, let us know how you did this thing.
This record called All the Best in All You Do was a labor of love. It took 3 years. I did it all myself with one notable exception. We'll talk about that in a sec. I recorded it all on the iPad with GarageBand iOS.
Nice.
That's all I used. A lot of it was recorded through like plugins. So like some electric guitar was plugged in that way. Bits of the drums and stuff like that. Whenever I could get my hands on an electric kit, I'd plug that in, use that. Other times I'd go back, revert to programming and that, because, especially if I was looking for a specific sound, which happened a lot of time, I could just program that sound and I could just EQ it, make it its own track and get it exactly right, exactly what I wanted. It took 3 years to do basically 10 songs, 37 minutes worth of music, because I was going through every single note, just scrutinizing the absolute hell out of it, trying to make sure everything was exactly the way I wanted. And again, so the only exception to me having done everything on this record was number 3, Hot and Cold, which features our very own Hetriani. he laid down some absolutely incredible guitar solos, and really just brought the whole thing together. So yeah, it was all done on GarageBand. I absolutely love it. I think it's insane, just how easy it is to make music nowadays, um, and just how easy it is.
Don't
It's honestly, it's beautiful. And then what I did after is like I exported everything. Honestly, I brought it all into Audacity to A and B it and touch up some bass and treble and stuff like that. And that was how I managed to like really get everything sounding cohesive, right? Because every mix, like anybody who's ever recorded a body of work knows, every single mix is going to come out with its own character, and it's really hard tying it all together and making it sound like a cohesive effort. Like it, making it all sound like it fits on one album. So never underestimate the process of A and Bing it and really getting that EQ down. It's a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm a big advocate of that kind of stuff. Get that mix right before you even consider mastering it. Excuse me.
Yep.
I'm so over this cough. So done with it. But yeah, it's available on Bandcamp and streaming services. Don't say too loudly that how easy it is to make music these days. The CEO of Spotify might.
Oh God,
that wanker. But
Yeah.
it is
Oh, my
available
God.
in all the places. So, what I wanted to ask you about next is this, because we talked about vinyl and stuff at the start, but you have your own record label. And
Oh yeah.
you put out quite a few artists from this community, not only your own music. So how did this all come about? What's the criteria to get on your label? And then I'll hit you up about some mastering stuff with vinyl. Do tell.
Yeah, absolutely. So this all started way back a couple of years ago when I was secretly building MikeHaggith.com behind the scenes. And I was doing all of this to coincide with the surprise launch of my album Bridges, which I had recorded in 2018. And finally in 2021, it was fully mixed and mastered and ready to go. Um, so I was looking for a way to release it on CD without having to buy, 1,000 CDs and then have a lot of them sitting in my broom closet or whatever. You know how it is, right? The minimum orders are killer,
Mm-hmm.
and the price point isn't very good. So I was fumbling around online looking for a CD print on demand. And I ended up finding this site called Kanaki. And basically, what Kanaki does is just exactly what I was looking for. Um, Prints CDs on demand. So you upload the music and the album art and the template and everything, and then it just sits in your account. And so I figured, well, I could open up a storefront, and then, people could buy my CDs online. And whenever they buy one online, I could just go over to Kanaki, have them manufacture one CD for that person, and then they can like the factory can just ship that unit directly to the customer, and then whatever. It's great. It's a bit of back end work for me, but it's not the end of the world. Well, then after I launched MikeHaggett.com and I kind of had that set up and going, I realized I could do this for other people. And it really wouldn't take very much effort at all. So basically, what I did is I cloned MikeHaggett.com, changed all the branding, really took a lot of time sort of building the exact brand and the presence that is Morningstar Records. And basically, now I do the exact same thing. And one of the cool things that I learned about Kanaki when I realized they do CDs, they also do on demand, made to order lathe cut vinyl. And it looks and sounds really freaking good. So yeah, once I learned that I could do that for myself, I said, well, if I'm going to run like an online store and all that, this is the kind of thing that I could do for other people. And one of the big motivators for that, we got to go back to the din. It was about 2016. I was living in Sault Ste. Marie, had $6 in my checking account, didn't know where my next meal was coming from, but I had myself a banging band with some incredible people, and we were writing some really, really good music. And there was a local record label in town that wanted to sign us. And that was great because we were writing a lot. We had a second album we were working on. So we sat down and we read the contract and just about puked. Um, if we had if we had signed that, my voice that you're hearing right now, like this interview and like this voice, like you might have to pay a royalty to like I won't name this record label publicly because it's run by a pretty decent guy and it's just a standard run of the mill contract, but um still it was just insane. And at the time we were meeting and we were like, well, some of this stuff in here is like it's pretty predatory and it could like really screw over an artist. Like if we sign, can you take this stuff out? And then we could sign. And he was like, no, like this is what everybody signs. He's like, I'm not gonna burn you
Yeah.
guys. I was like, I know you're a good dude. You're not gonna burn us, but like I still cannot legally sign this in good faith. And so I just remember thinking back then, like, wouldn't it be great, if we could just record stuff on our own, but like if we could do CDs and we could do vinyl where we basically just affiliate with a label for like distribution. And that's basically what Morningstar Records is. So you as the artist, you have a recording studio. I'm sorry, we all have Daniel Ek trauma from that stupid, ridiculously tone deaf garbage that he said. But that notwithstanding, we all have a recording studio right here. And we all have a recording studio right here on that PC. And we all have a recording studio on whatever tablet we have. We all do have such an ability to, make music and create, right? Like it really is the best time in the world for that. So you don't need to sign a record deal in order to record. You can record stuff on your own. So basically all Morningstar Records is hey, you have recorded things on your own. You're bringing them to Morningstar Records because you want, my guidance maybe as far as like mixing and mastering for CDs or vinyl, and you'd like to do that. You'd like to affiliate. I don't sign anybody. I just affiliate them so they can basically come and go as they please. They affiliate on a per album basis. So if you've got a record that basically the criteria is do I like it? Do I have room for it right now? That's basically the criteria. And if the answer to those questions is yes, then boom, you can affiliate with Morningstar Records for that album. And if we can make it fit on vinyl, we can do that. And if not, we'll do it on CD. But the big thing is the artist retains all the rights. So one thing I don't do with Morningstar is I don't handle any digital distribution. I don't handle the streaming sites, none of that, because I want the artists to have the ability to come and go as they please. And if I'm in charge of all of their digital stuff, it's like you were talking about with Slayer, right?
Yeah.
Where like suddenly somebody says, I don't want to affiliate with Morningstar anymore. Well, if all their stuff is dependent on me to remain on Spotify and they don't affiliate with me, well, then of course I'm going to pull it because I'm spending money to put that up there. So then all of a sudden you, the consumer, you get screwed because boom, now your artist is gone. And if you're the artist, you get screwed because unless you've got a contingency plan and you're uploading this stuff right away on your own, one day it's gone. So artists handle all of the digital side of things. All I do basically is run the storefront for the physical side of things, and we can do bulk orders for CDs and vinyl and stuff like that. Tobias H. Reese, he did 2 of his records with Morningstar. Those were a lot of fun. Just a whole lot of really, really phenomenal artists. And here, my green screen sometimes plays tricks, and I'm sure Jude won't mind. This is on the way.
Yeah. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, there it is.
Here we go. Amazing.
Yeah, my green screen is
And this,
amazing.
man, this has been a long time in the making. I've known Jude for a long time. Had him on the. Oh wow, there's the vinyl right there, so we can see the vinyl.
There's the vinyl.
We were saying before the show, I've been on Jude's case for a long time, going, "Don't put out a record, do it," and finally it's happening. What's the release date? What's been the whole deal with this? Because I'm sure there's been a lot of work being put into this.
Yeah, I mean, Jude is a phenomenal artist. I heard his song "Crooked," and that's what hooked me. And I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, do you have an album out? And if not, do you have 9 more just like Crooked?" And he was basically like, "Hey, I have like 200 songs, and I would love to do an album. I haven't really officially released anything on my own yet. You know." So if you can help me, please do, basically was what I got. So I went through about 200 of his songs. Basically I over the next like 2 weeks, I went through his entire YouTube channel and took like with a pen and a paper, and just whenever I could, I would just listen to a few Mazen songs and I would just rate them 1 to 10. Then what I did is I picked basically my favorite 9 and arranged them in a sequence that would work for vinyl, where it would be broken down roughly into even 17 and a half, 18 minutes aside, because that's about ideal for lathe cut vinyl. Once we had that, we made 1 or 2 track substitutions along the way. Then we started to touch up mixes, and then it was on me to get the mastering all done. And yeah, now we're here. I just, I've heard Crooked, and as soon as I heard that song, I was like, oh my God, wouldn't it be so nice on just a nice day, just sit down with a glass of scotch and just like, I can see myself putting the needle down on the record and sitting down and hearing this song going, your mind has turned dark lately. What a good song, man. So I got super, super excited, so into it. It's so good. Oh my God. The album, the way it sounds, the tracks, the way they flow. July 20th, Mazen Music Lab's debut album, Tentacles, drops everywhere. I know Jude is handling the digital side of things, and we've already got pre-order available for the CDs and the vinyl. I'm telling you guys, you want this. You really, really do. Jude is incredible. He's been doing this for so long. This is an album that we've all waited for so long. And I'm just honored to have had a part in it. But I know it would mean the world to him, and certainly to me as well, to see everybody get a copy of that. And yeah, the CD and the vinyl, everything looks and sounds really, really good. So give the physical records a thought for sure.
Do it.
Do it.
And it's very
Yes.
it's very exciting. I'm sure he's I know he's tickled pink. He's very excited about it. And I love this idea. I love that you're doing this, and we've shown as you've been talking there. So many of the artists, there's quite a few of them that we know and love from this community. You can see in here. So
Yeah.
we've got yourself and Mazen Music. We've got Tobias Reach. Reach, what did I say? Reese. That's Russ's fault.
Yeah,
Russ
yeah.
always says that. A Midnight Bandit. So people we know from this
Yeah.
community. So that's really cool amongst other artists. Do you is there a submission thing? Do people like submit stuff to get released, or do you hunt them down?
Sometimes I will hunt them down. If I hear a song like Crooked, or for Tobias H. Reese, it was his song Can't Stop, which we put on his first album. Yeah, like if I hear a song like that and I'm like, oh my God, yes, I need this. Um, then yeah, I will go and I will try to hunt them down. I've been trying to lock down coax chrome for CD and vinyl. I think Gortium might be on board, but we might have to talk about it a little bit more. We've kind of gone back and forth on it a little bit, kind of kicking the can. I think I really hope anyway that we can get on board with that, because his coax chrome stuff is incredible, and I absolutely love it. But people can always reach out to me. There are about 1 million different ways to get in touch with me, and even though I am super, super busy and things are crazy and I'm all over the place all the damn time, I do my best to respond in the most timely manner that I can. So yes, anybody who would like to, absolutely reach out. Let's chat. Let's hear what you got, and let's do this.
It's exciting releasing albums. I know I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm getting ready to release one, which is I'm trying something completely different with marketing. So currently, nobody knows what it's called. Nobody knows what the album's called. Nobody knows when it's being released, and I'm trying to leave breadcrumbs in. Again, I apologize. I don't know what that is.
What
But
happened?
I think that's one of the clues. Apparently, but that is what I'm doing. So I'm dumping clues all over social media, and people have to go through and find the clues, which lead to other web pages. And over the next 4 weeks, it will lead to what the album's called, and you'll have to work it out. And then you go find it and grab it and see if you're interested in it, because I don't know. It's so hard to make your music stand out these days and try and come up with some kind of different marketing plan. And this is my new one. This is what I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
because I get bored just going, here's an album. Because, it is like hiring a prostitute and paying your money, and it's all over in 5 minutes, because you get all this excitement, you put it out, and then you just go, oh. So I'm trying something different to kind of build momentum and keep my brain working during the time of getting it ready for release and stuff. So, I want to, while we're talking about the label and stuff, I did a show last week on mastering. Now, you master stuff, right? So, and I talked about the difference between mastering for digital and vinyl. Please reiterate for people how important it is to have different masters for vinyl if you are considering releasing music for vinyl, my friend.
Yeah, you absolutely do, especially if you're going for like pressed records. I'm very fortunate in that the lathe cut records don't require quite as much in-depth work. You still have to be really, really finicky about very specific things. But yeah, especially when it comes to pressed records, I'm sure you talked about the RIAA curve and all of that stuff. Basically, you've got to cut a lot of
Sure did.
you got to cut a lot of bass out for your vinyl, because the way vinyl works is if there's any real tangible amount of bass, it will bounce that needle straight out of the groove and cut your shit off. So basically, the way every single modern phonograph, and really every preamp within a vinyl setup works is it compensates by adding a lot of bass to what you hear. So it's a very predictable EQ curve. It's called the RIAA. It's very, very predictable. If you try to master for pressed vinyl outside of that, the compensation will be off on the other end, and again, you will end up with something horribly unlistenable. The nice thing about the Kanaki lathe cut records is that they put the RIAA curve onto everything on their own. It's built into the lathes themselves when they cut the records. Now, the big thing that I've noticed is that the lathe cut records can be subject to still some bass boom, especially as you get toward the inner sections of the records, where you start to lose a bit of that top end. You start to get a little bit of that inner groove distortion, but also a lot of sibilance. So those hard S's and those hard T's on a lathe cut record can come through like a if you're not careful about the way you handle your top end. So I have, and I master fully in Audacity for vinyl. Basically, I like Reaper for an overall digital master with your multi-band compression, your widening. Why am I blanking on the? Anyway, you can widen the sound. You can really, really make everything crisp. That's good. I make my main masters, my digital masters, usually with Reaper. Once that's all done, The vinyl masters are done through Audacity, where I import the digital masters and then apply this very specific, I call it the compensation curve.
Yep.
So chop a little bit out of the 250 to 500, pretty hard de-essing over the 5K, and a little bit of a bump over the 2K, because that's typically where your vocals are going to sit and you want those to pop a little more. So it took a lot of trial and error and a lot of just like, I think this is going to work. Let me order a lathe cut LP and then wait 4 weeks. And then it gets here and it sounds like garbage. And now I've got to go back to the drawing board. It took about 5 or 6 tries
Right.
before I finally got it right. But now I've got it. So things are good now. Life is good.
I think I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there. I think there's going to be a time. I think people we're back to full circle, where people are getting frustrated with digital distribution because of the lack of control, the lack of money, the lack of being able to promote it, and you get lost in the mix so hard. I can see. I mean, vinyl has already made a comeback. You can go to any store now here in Australia that's CDs, and there's a huge vinyl collection that's growing and growing. And I can really see us going back. This is a thing that is almost like there's going to be an EMP of music, and we're going to get zapped and go, you know what? I like this physical thing. And I think it is important for people to understand their mixes for LPs, for vinyl. I think it's definitely a thing you should be aware of and understand how it works, because the vinyl just is coming back and you can't fight it.
Yeah, that was very threatening.
It's an EMP, man. It's like a solar storm. It's going to hit us. No, I think people are eventually, like anything, I think people are going to get pissed off. It's like, with the current state of the world and inflation. I say this all the time. We can sit there and watch these politicians juggle around in their egos and stuff, but eventually people are going to go, I don't care if the earth's flat. I don't care about if this guy's a liar. I care about I can't pay my fucking bills. And that will be the thing. And I think this is going to be the thing with the music too, is that the frustration of the digital distribution, how it is at the moment, how broken it is, that people are going to get fucking pissed off and go, no, I want complete control. And I like this vinyl thing. I like owning things. Let me own things again. And I think there's going to be it's going to continue to this resurgence of, even with video games, it's happened everywhere. Movies, we used to collect DVDs, games. Now the Sony network is all just downloadable shit, and they can take it away at any fucking time. And
people are learning that the hard way.
Yeah. And they're losing content. And the same as on the App Store, I remember when the App Store came out, I bought so many freaking games, and now you go through your App Store, half these games aren't there anymore. The companies have just slowly gone, you know what, we won't update that anymore. And you start adding up the money that you've spent, and it's hundreds to thousands of dollars you spent on apps that just are undownloadable anymore. People are going to get pissed. And when people get pissed, they go primordial and they go back to, and that's what albums are to me. That's that primordial ooze. Rant over.
I love it. No, I think it's it's a good point. And there are going to be times when, you just want to listen to something and you don't want to put in the effort. And, it's great. The way I've set up Morningstar is like, if you buy a CD or you buy an LP, you're also entitled to a digital download for free. So that I don't really listen to my CDs very much. I have them. I like them. They're there if I need them. But I've largely digitized my CD collection. So the majority of the time I can just pull something up on the computer and listen to it there if I want to. The LPs, I'll put those on if I have a moment to like really sit down and take in the experience, right? So I think it's good for that. You've got to give people basically every option to listen to the music in the most convenient way that works for them. I think you're right. Albums are really coming back in a big way, which is good news for me because I am stubborn and refuse to adapt. And I have always been an album guy. So cool. Make albums cool again.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that. We are running out of time. Now, I'll just let everyone know we've got a premiere coming up in about 15 minutes' time, which is the Lily Pilly's got a brand new song. I don't think I've got a dump set for it, so maybe we'll grab maybe Thomas, my good friend Thomas. Thomas, I love you, Thomas. You know that. Thomas is amazing. We'll grab a link and pop that in. Don't have to do it now. Don't stress yet, because we've got one more song to play. There was something else I wanted to cover. Now you mentioned, so you're about to go back, play a gig this coming next week. So you're back playing live again. Now you broke your leg. How the fuck did you break your leg? What happened, dude?
Because I'm old and fat and my toothpick legs couldn't hold me, damn it.
Did you fall off did you fall off the stage? What was the story? What happened?
No, yeah. So we were playing Rotary Fest last year. It was a big deal too.
Yeah.
I had coincided everything with this performance. The release of the album that had taken me 3 years to make, All the Best and All You Do. There's the Rose edition, the deluxe there. Everything was all coming together at this big festival show. We got going. We did the song All You Do, and that segged right into Hot and Cold. And we were most of the way through Hot and Cold. I was playing the guitar and kind of making my little sort of introductory sort of strut around the stage, as I usually do early on in a show. And I had my left foot up on the drum riser. I had my back to the audience. I was facing the drummer, and all my weight was on my right leg, and it was sort of bent. So my right knee was taking the brunt of a lot of force. And I didn't really think much of it at the time. I had the guitar kind of way up in the air, and everything was going great. And as that solo section was coming to a close, I thought, well, I should probably get back up to the front of the stage, get ready for the next song. And something in my brain went, okay, cool, turn around. And before I had even consciously said, okay, cool, I'm going to, turn around, I think instinctively my body began to turn to the right ever so slightly. And the bottom of my leg was firmly planted, and something didn't jive, and basically my leg didn't go with me. And my kneecap on my right leg blew right out of the socket. And I ended up on my back. Yeah. It was excruciating.
Did you finish the song
like that? Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah. No, as I was falling, and like it's an adrenaline thing, right? It starts here and it just goes right down, right?
It's rock and roll, man.
You know how that is.
Yeah.
Right. So the adrenaline started going right away. And so as I'm falling, I'm like, oh shit, don't break the guitar. So I kind of crashed down on my side, but the guitar was good. I tucked into it, laying on my back, writhing in pain. And I'm like, okay, guitar's fine. Song's still going. Boys are still going. Keep playing. So kept playing. I think I missed a measure. Like all of that happened so quickly, right? It was insane. So there I am laying on my back, writhing in pain. And I'm laying there going, I don't believe I broke I broke a fucking leg. Everybody always says break a leg. Here I go. I'm writhing around in pain, but I was still playing the guitar. I'm just laying on my back. And so Chris, our guitarist, he's like shredding. It's a brilliant solo. He kind of walks over to me, and I'm like, I yell out up at him. I'm like, and he thought I was joking because I was still playing. So he laughed and walked away. So that sucked. And then Jake, our bass player, he walks over, and I'm like, I broke my leg. And it was so loud on the stage, right? He thought I said like, I'm okay or something. So he was like, oh, cool. So he turned around, he walked away. And I'm laying there on the stage, writhing in pain. Like I can feel it all just slipping away, like we had put so much into that show. I had looked forward to it for so long, and it was just, honestly, it was crippling, right? Like it's so fun to kind of look back on it now, and like the media got their story, especially because after that, obviously we had to cut the show at that point. Some event medics came on stage. They kind of were holding my leg in place. They called for paramedics and an ambulance, but the ambulance is about 15 minutes away. So I'm laying there high as balls on adrenaline, just in extreme pain. And I remember I was looking at the one medic, and um, he's like, I don't have any drugs for you. All I can do is tell you, try not to focus on the pain. And I was like, are you insane, dude? Uh, and he was like, that's honestly, I'm so sorry, dude. Like, that's the best I can give you. And so I'm laying there on the stage, and I was like, okay, is the crowd still there? And he was like, buddy, they're not going anywhere. So I was like, all right, well, I said, we got 10 minutes, lay a guitar on me, put a mic down here, and boys, plug back in. We're going to keep going. And we did another song. We sounded just as good, but I was in just agony. Um, then the paramedics got there right at the end of that song. Actually, the paramedics got there in the middle of the song, and there was a whole tussle at the side of the stage. Like, are we sending the medics on? Like, they're in the middle of the song right now. And basically what they decided was Haggith will literally kick them with his good leg if they go up there and try to cut off the song in the middle. So the paramedics were just like kind of had to hang out there for like 3 minutes and just kind of hear the rest of the song out. Um, and then they got on stage, and they were like, all right, Mike, we're going to have to stretcher you off, but we have to reset your leg here right now before we can do that, because we have to take you off the front. And so they did. They cut the mics, and they snapped my leg back into place. No anesthesia, no nothing, just raw dog that shit. And I let out what I will say is one single manly yelp. Uh, and though all the mics on the stage were cut, you could hear it at the food tents. So that was it. The media got their story, but it was pretty devastating. It wasn't about the show, but we had promised everybody an unforgettable show, and that's exactly what we gave them. So this year we're going to do it for all the right reasons. We're going back, and yeah, we're just, I don't know, you got to roll with it, right? But it was grueling, like months of physio, and
Yeah.
even now it's still not 100%, right? Like, I mean,
It never
like
will be.
literally, no, the kneecap literally like would have left me if it wasn't for the skin holding it in, which I know is super, super gross to think about, but trust me, it's worse to experience. So yeah, I'm just super grateful to be here, and that everybody kind of stuck with me through that, because I just felt like I let everybody down, right? Like, the
No, no, no,
band,
no, no.
and everybody who was there, and even like even me, like I look so forward to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just like, even like, it's still tough to think about, like, just it was so disappointing. And yeah, we're gonna do it right this year.
Absolutely. Rock and roll. So
Yeah.
pumped. Thanks for sharing all your stories today, everything that you do. Folks, make sure you go over. Links in the description to everything that Mike Haggith does. Go and get some music on Bandcamp. Go and support. Remember, you've got Mazan Music, the album coming out, all that jazz. I'm going to hit you with the last question because we've got to play the last song. I've set a dump for Lily Pillies as well now. Hit everybody
All right.
with this question. If you were giving advice to somebody starting to make music, when would be the best time for them to start?
5 years ago, but since you don't have a time machine, the best time to start is right now.
Perfect.
That's it. That's all I can give you.
Do it, bitch. All right, let's get out of here. We're going to play our last track. I want to thank you so much. It's been a really wonderful experience getting to know you here face to face in front of all these people. Please stay on the call so I can say goodbye to you off the air once we're finished. And
Absolutely.
we're going to close with Hot and Cold featuring Hetriani. Let's bang this track out. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is, I've been trying to make our schedules line up for years, and honestly, I'm just so glad to be here. And thank you everybody for coming and hanging out. Super cool. Go to MikeHaggith.com, go down to the bottom of the landing page, and join my frequent flyer program. You can hear a lot more stories just like this. That's the only pitch I have, I promise.
Do it now. All right, let's play this.
Now.
This is Hot and Cold. It's on the album. It's featuring Hedriani. Do the things that make you happy, folks. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together, and you know what? Stay awake. Let's get out of here, and we'll see you on the next one. Remember, we got the Lily Pilly straight up after this. Let's do it now. Boom.
Young in the next fight. Oh, and I don't want you around. 'Cause you took my best flight and drove it straight into the ground. You say you've gotta learn to love. When I'm faced with the pain, I gotta try to tough it out. Play it like I'm swimming while I drown. You never try to pull me up, you just keep filling up your cup, and it takes me down, 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 down. Hey, baby, I'm just looking for a hand to hold. I'm just looking for a hand to hold. Living my best life. Oh, and I ain't getting back with you. 'Cause you got the best drive. It's all that you'll know how to do. I try not to pick up the phone, but I just can't help the feeling that I die alone now. And everybody's keeping up and on. But there's no sense shacking up if you're bent on packing up.